Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Go Show. I'm your host, Froosh, and today we have an exclusive interview with the creators of the new DE Cache. In the interview, you will hear us refer to them by their real names, so just so there's no confusion, Sal is Volcano, the original creator of Cache, and Sean is FMPONE, the creator of Museum in Gwalior. I hope you guys enjoy the interview, and keep an eye out for our next YouTube video where you can watch and listen to the pro players test out the new cache. Sal, did you approach Sean about working on this project, or did Sean contact you?
Yeah, Sean contacted me first about collaborating on a new map. With the success I had with Cache in the competitive scene, and the success that he had with Museum and Gwalior in the casual scene, we both instantly recognized that we can create a great map together.
So Sean, if you're working on your own maps already, what brought about the idea or interest to rehash visually another map?
I'm always trying to think about what's going to get the community interested and excited and enthusiastic about my next project. So it seemed obvious, given the success of Cache, to get involved with Sal, work on something new. What originally happened was, as Sal said, I approached him about the idea of working on an original map, and I was very excited about it, so I was talking to a bunch of people. Among them was Matt Wood from Valve, and it was actually his idea to first work on making Cache look a little better. But then we decided, we wanted to go beyond that and actually improve the map, actually upgrade it.
Sean, did you completely remake Cache, or did you load the previous version into Hammer and work on it from there?
A little bit of both. It's really important when you're working on a map that has a legacy that you preserve, some of the essential stuff like dimensions of the angles involved and hallways and doorways and all of that stuff. So anything gameplay essential, I made sure was a direct port. But then you get really creative with the spaces in between and how you make everything work.
So Sean, you've gained quite a reputation in the casual community for creating beautiful maps since posting your recent works of CS Museum and DE Gwalior. Name one thing that contributes to your ability to create such visually pleasing maps.
I guess I've always kind of been an artistic person since I was a little kid, so I'm pretty good at that. But I think it's more important, beyond just making something that looks nice, then, it's important to be able to empathize with competitive players, put yourself in their shoes, and it helps that I'm sort of a competitive person myself, so I can think about what aspects of a visual scene would be essential in terms of looking good, and I can also understand from the competitive perspective what would be annoying, and then I try and filter out all of the annoying stuff so that I can maintain just a really solid visual.
Sal, after playtesting with different groups, do you feel confident that the new cache will be accepted by the competitive community, or do you think it'll take time for tournaments and leagues to switch over?
I feel confident that the new cache is an upgrade from the previous version. I mean, not only did we improve the visuals, there were a lot of gameplay areas that we went back and fixed as well. The movement on the map in general is much smoother for the player in several areas. I think eventually everybody will come around to the new version, because I know the feedback we received during playtests has been very positive. Also, I think eventually leagues and tournaments will switch over to the new version of Cache, but currently a lot of leagues are mid-season. Considering how well the playtests have gone, I'm sure that the switch to the new version will be made in time for the next season of leagues, though.
Sal, when building a map like Cache, how much time was really put into tweaking the size of the map itself and obstacles in the players' paths to ensure good competitive timings?
I spend a lot of time on things like that. That's probably where I spend the bulk of my time when working on a map. I'm very detail-oriented, and I can run around a map for hours and just keep picking out little things that I want to change and improve upon. So I'm very specific when it comes to just making sure sight lines and angles and timings and everything are how they should be and how I envision them to be on a map.
So I playtested a map called Grio with the creator Genjo. And he showed me a piece of paper that he had scribbled the original ideas of the map layout on. Sal, how did you come up with the original idea for Cache?
Cache was a very iterative process. I just kept building things that came to mind, things I thought that were cool or interesting, and I just kept refining the map from there. I'd build something in Hammer, compile it, run around in a server by myself for a while, see where I wanted to go next with the map.
So this next question's for both you guys. What got you into mapping? And do you remember your first map? And if so, could you tell us what your first map was like? Sean, we'll start with you.
What got me into mapping is probably the first Counter-Strike, the first Day of Defeat, back in the day, the World War II Call of Duty, the very first ones. Just the sense of being immersed in those environments and then appreciating the fact that these weren't just randomly generated arenas for multiplayer. They were really well thought out maps that had a lot of different angles and elevation changes and things like that that immediately captivated my curiosity and made me wonder why all these specific decisions were made and the logic that went into them.
My first real experience with mapping was with Warcraft 2 way back in the day. I would just build some maps with friends and, we'd play on them, and I had a ton of fun doing that. I didn't really explore mapping again until sometime during 1.6, when ESCA had a mapping initiative to try and revitalize the scene by including new competitive maps. There was a map named DE Light that was being built by the creator of Season, and I got involved with the project, helping out some with the layout, playtesting, and balancing of the map. And eventually from there I took it a step further and learned how to use the editor myself, and I created DE Cache.
Sal, with the exception of your own maps, what maps do you enjoy playing the most as a competitor?
So ruling out Cache and the new version of Nuke, I enjoy playing Dust 2 and Inferno the most. I like them because they just offer very different experiences in terms of the play styles that teams will use on the maps, and both are very simple layouts that just have some iconic areas. Like, you have the banana on Inferno, the catwalk in Long A on Dust 2. I just find those areas to be very defining of the map.
I love this community map called DE Apex because it's played as a competitive map, but at times it feels like a huge jungle gym, with the height changes and the ability for skill jumps to rotate faster. Sal, as a CSGO player, what aspects of a map, technically speaking, appeal to you as a player?
Yeah, there's not really any specific aspect of a map that I look for. It's just generally speaking, the layout is simple, it's easy to learn, there's not too many choke points or hallways or anything that frustrates the player. It's just, general, straightforward map. That's what I tend to prefer the most.
What part of map making is most enjoyable or fun for you? Would you say it's the initial build, playtesting and tweaking, the visuals, or just playing the final version?
I think the most fun part of a map is obviously the release and watching people play it and enjoy it, since you've worked so hard for X amount of time, and that's really the big payoff is just watching people enjoy it. But it's all fun, but that's probably the most fun.
And Sal?
Yeah, I agree with Sean on that one, but also to pinpoint a specific part during the development, I really enjoy running around my map after I compile it and just trying to pick out little things that I would see from the point of view of a player, like sight lines, angles, any exploits that might exist to try and fix them, just any balance improvements or any cool gameplay ideas I can actually add to the map after I run around it from the point of view as a player.
Sean, is there a part of map making that you don't enjoy very much or is tedious and less enjoyable?
Yeah, one word: compiling. No, not. I mean, like I said, besides like technical stuff like compiling, I really enjoy every process for its own reason, and I think that explains why I've made a few maps, because if you don't really enjoy this, you probably won't stick with it. It is time consuming and difficult.
Sal, can I ask you the same question? Anything that you don't enjoy?
I wouldn't say that there's anything I don't enjoy, but as I said earlier, there's definitely parts of the process that I enjoy a lot more. And that's mainly just my experience as a professional player and using that to get a fresh set of eyes on a map that other people might not have when they're developing a map.
So Sal, fill in the blank for me. Too much of blank would break a map.
Too much of any element would break a map. And what I mean by that is, too much cover, too many dark spots, too many paths to a bomb site, too much vertical play, too much fog. I think these are all things that can potentially ruin a map. And you see it on maps a lot too.
So it's basically searching for that ideal balance.
Exactly. That's what I think it's all about. And it's actually really hard to do as well.
Sal, do you have any tips or advice for a new mapper who is looking to create a competitive map? Any do's or don'ts?
I could say what worked for me, and that was building a map that I would want to play eventually. I just kept building and critiquing the map as I went along, and just with that iterative process, eventually I ended up with something that I do want to play now. And I think that's all that really matters, is just kind of building something that you would enjoy playing.
Sean, can I ask you the same question?
Sure. I I think if you want to make a great map, you have to study the classics and you have to understand why it's a classic. You know, if you don't respect the classics, how can you possibly expect to make something that's going to be as acclaimed in the future? So for me, that's actually a big part of why I wanted to work with Sal on Cache, because I instantly recognized, even before I was involved, that it was something that, you know, I felt could be a potential new classic type of map.
Any plans to release a FY Ice World remake?
Well, no. I think that if anything, that's the most perfect map of all time. And RT, the creator of Ice World, should probably go back and remake all of my maps.
Lastly, I'm sure everybody wants to know as well, what can we expect next from you two?
Well, I guess I'll jump in on that one. I think me and Sal both have plans to create an original layout. I think it was a good experience working together on Cache, and we've already got some plans and a basic layout down. So hopefully in the future we can bring you guys some more news on that.